Welcome back to Tusk Media. I'm Ben Nye. I'm joined by Matt Krebsbach. Today we're talking about Orbital, which was acquired last week, or an agreement was signed to be acquired. And this is a company that makes missiles, makes rockets, makes ammunition. And Matt Krebsbach has actually been following this company for a while, so it's great that we actually have him in-house today to tell us a little bit more about the deal. But first, Matt, perhaps you could give a little bit background. Last year, it really got hammered, the stock did. So give a bit of background around that.
Like you said, like you've said before, it's a really exciting company. I found it initially when I was reading about SpaceX and they were doing their launches to the ISS, and then I saw like an article that Orbital ATK does the same type of thing. They don't have the reusable rockets, but they send stuff up to the ISS, and then they got me looking into it, and then we initiated positions, like you said earlier, I think like 80 a share, and then they had an accounting issue with one of their big contracts at the Lake City ammunition contract, and I think that self was like 15% that day, and we determined that they approached it the right way, they handled it the right way, and then I think we definitely doubled down at that point, and it turned out to be the right move.
This was definitely one of those instances where you look at a company and you have to take management's word for it, and it's really kind of reading the tea leaves, because so often a company will make a purchase of another company in order to just protect its own back.
With accounting issues like that, you really have to be careful with, like roaches, where there's all the contracts are just overstayed or whatever it is, but in that case, it was an ATK contract, and the entire Orbital management team was still with Orbital, and they went back with the biggest contracts first, of course, and then slowly went down, and they didn't restate anything else. So
they really went about things in an orderly fashion. Yes, what they bought wasn't exactly what they intended to buy. I think that's by definition, that's what happens when you have a write-down. But nevertheless, we looked at it and said, this is not Orbital management's fault. Yeah, they probably should have done a little more due diligence on the price, but over time, we think that this purchase will probably work out, and it is not an indictment on the existing Orbital assets or the existing Orbital contracts. So that's what happened last year. Stock got slammed, but then over the past 9 months or so, it's gradually kind of crept back up to where it was, and with the rising valuations in the industrial and defense space more generally, it certainly has had a tailwind from that.
Definitely.
Which I'm the first to admit I did not expect that at all. I mean, to expect PE appreciation on companies who are valued at 22 times earnings already is not something that history would be on your side with.
Right.
But that's what's happened over the last 9 months. So Orbital was certainly a beneficiary of that. And then we get the news last week, and you want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think it was last Sunday afternoon night, Northrop Grumman came out and said they're trying to acquire Orbital for, I think, $132.50 a share, I want to say, which was...
I think it was $134.50.
Yeah, that sounds better. I think that day it rallied 15%. I think that price is about 18% or so above what it was closing Friday, if that sounds right.
I think that's about right.
To me, that seems like a pretty fair multiple. Obviously you can compare Orbital to apples to like a defense major, but if you wanted to do that, that's not that big of a premium to me to what you're paying for Orbital, because I think they are uniquely positioned in that space with their rockets, with the satellites that they do, with all that stuff. I think that's a pretty moaty business. Yeah.
So is it the technology that really provides that moat, or is it the contracts, in your opinion, or just maybe the operations?
I think all of it, really.
Yeah.
The contracts and like just the assets, and like how would you get into that space,
Yeah, it's Elon Musk has been trying for decades, and he's still struggling to really get going on that.
So that buyout happened. Obviously, it's not done yet. That still has to go through all that process. If it doesn't go through, Orbital would owe Northrop Grumman $275 million breakup fee, which is kind of interesting because the smaller one paying the bigger one the breakup fee. I think usually it's the other way around. So
do you think that's because Northrop Grumman is scared that someone is going to come over the top?
I would have guessed that, yeah. I don't know why or the reason you would do that.
Right. And so what is the total valuation of the deal? It's about $9 billion or something, right?
I was going to say 9.8, but it's in the nines. Yeah.
So $250 million, almost seems like if someone wants to go over the top, they can go over the top of Northrop Grumman, and it's not going to be like $250 million, $1 billion. If they all of a sudden they offer Orbital $140 or $145 a share, even including that breakup fee, that could get done. But it does seem like the market's not pricing that in right now. It looks like it's a discount to the deal price, which seems to me just kind of an efficient market and time value of money. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Lockheed seems like the most logical other suitor there. I mean, it's at 9 point whatever billion. I think that's like the perfect sweet spot of it's not too big, but it can like have impact on your financials and performance.
So is there a next mid-cap defense stock that you think that's going to get bought out, or is Orbital really in just a prime position for that?
Part of me says they're just in a prime position, but you probably could have said the same about Rockwell too. I've been thinking through this, like, is it going to be just consolidation on like the same level, or is it going to be like more vertical, like buying out your suppliers and buying that type of stuff? I think if you're going horizontal, it seems like the most logical candidate would be someone like Textron, who make the Cessna planes and the Bell helicopters. There's rumors that Lockheed was going to do that a couple of months ago, but nothing really came of that. But so obviously it's kind of a cop-out answer since there's always rumors about it. But
Great. So, John Oliver was out over the weekend saying how bad M&A is for the regular person because of all you have all this consolidation. Do you think this consolidation, obviously it's good for Orbital stockholders. Yeah. It may or may not be good for Orbital employees, I would argue. Good for the top tier, bad for the low tier. Is it good for Northrop Grumman making this purchase?
I think it bolsters their kind of the missile segments. I mean, Raytheon has been like just the juggernaut in that space, like missiles and rockets, and Northrop Grumman hasn't really been as big there. So I think that kind of puts them in a new competitive position, I would say. And like I said before, I don't think it was too egregious of a price they paid for it.
Awesome. So watch those Lockheed headlines, subscribe to their press releases, subscribe to Orbital press releases. We'll keep you updated if something happens, but right now, market not expecting it. That's all for now. Thank you.
Tusk Media is a subsidiary of Narwhal Capital Management. Ratings and reviews of Tusk Media content are not to be construed as endorsements of opinions, analysis, or services offered by Tusk or its parent company. The opinions and predictions shared here are professional beliefs at the time of publication. We are not under duress from any of the corporate entities mentioned. This is not a solicitation to take any particular action. Although we are investment advisors, this information should not be considered investment, legal, or tax advice. We strive to be as impartial, insightful, and accurate as possible. We base our opinions, analysis, and calculations on information we believe to be reliable, but we cannot guarantee its accuracy. We can, however, guarantee that our opinions will sometimes be flat out wrong due to a variety of factors. Employees and clients of Narwhal Capital Management may or may not hold positions in the securities detailed and may or may not hold these positions in the future. A full list of all securities purchased, sold, or held during the 12 months preceding the date of this publication can be provided upon request. Unless otherwise noted, all data accessed via MarketWatch or the Bloomberg terminal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. A copy of Narwhal's Form ADV is available at the SEC's website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov, or from Narwhal upon written request.